We are live. Wow. Okay. That
There we
was
go.
quick. Welcome, guys, to episode 24 of the weekly, season 5. Yeah, I know. We knew this for 5 years. How's it going, Juan?
Yeah, it's going all right, man. I got coffee. I figure other people will probably join us if we just start talking about stuff. So yeah, let's do this thing. Let's win
Yeah.
the day.
Yes, yes. And for all of those who know, this is Comic-Con weekend. I would like to say rest in peace, John Schnepp. If you follow Collider Video, he is a big sweaty, talked about comic books. He passed away yesterday. So, you know what? Just sharing that out there. He's a cool dude. I always watch his videos. So, hey, thanks for sharing all your sweatiness and all that comic book love, man.
Yeah. And I would also like to send out an RIP to James Gunn.
Yeah. Yeah, that was
sorry, that was a joke in terrible color.
Yeah,
your actual heartfelt RIP there. I just
that one me and Sam talked about yesterday. We're like, I don't think we should touch that on the weekly. It's just a little too.
No, I just wanted to, we can let it go from there. But I felt like it was worth the mention, and now we can get on with our lives.
Yes, yes. So anyway, any true week uselessness of the week? If there's any guys in the chat, let us know.
Actually, there's one I haven't even had a chance to fully unravel it. It's one of the top posts on Reddit as we speak. That there's apparently a Fortnite controversy because they've been doing those tournaments for actual cash, and that one of the players, the more recent winners. Let me see if I can find it. One of the more recent winners, to the tune of something like $150,000 in this last tournament roundup, is apparently a big old fat cheater. So
using some macros, no macros.
No, going even beyond that. So he would apparently, the accusation is that he would jump into rooms until he got sort of the players that he wanted to play against. And then all of them were people on a team for him that wouldn't try and fight, wouldn't shoot each other, and would just let him rack up kills. So like you would actually see his replay. Then because someone said like they were accusing him of what you were saying, of using some sort of cheating or not actually playing, like maybe even having a pro play for him.
Yeah.
And so he posted his replays to Twitch. And then everyone saw on Twitch that like no one was fighting back against him. No one was running around. They had these great drops. So like there are guys with like great guns, plenty of shields, armor, whatever it is that, you go through and you collect in Fortnite. And so he would also get all this stuff from them as he was just wiping the floor with all of these non-players. So it's an unraveling story, but it's one that we'll probably have to address more if companies. You want to do something cool for a Fortnite community. You get all this money, you get all these sponsors, you get all this stuff built up so that you can do these big prize giveaways, some real chicken dinner action. And then you have to know that there are going to be bad actors out there that try and take advantage of that.
I mean, I think some of that can easily be solved, though, especially if you're doing that in a tournament situation where you're picking the best players in the world, or like the best 100, and it's like, okay, you come to the Brooklyn, I forgot the stadium in Brooklyn, but anyway, you have that arena and everyone's playing. That it's a little harder to do that as opposed to something where it's at home, or at least you and your team, or like a group of people are joining. So, but still, it is sad that I mean, I get it. People want to win. I understand that, but a couple of things. Some people will say, if you're going to cheat, do it properly. And the other thing too is don't cheat.
The player's name is iDropz Bodies, IDROPZ_bodies, and apparently he gamed the Fortnite tournament to the tune of $130,000.
Ooh, so, okay. All right.
That ain't too shabby.
Okay, man. Well, let's move on. I've got a few people in the chat here. Ronald Collins and Derek11 are here. How's it going, guys?
What's up, guys?
Let's start off with some news. Microsoft had a stellar second quarter, and for some reason, my link doesn't work.
We're doing it live, folks. We're doing it live.
I was trying to open up. It was a link actually to the actual press release, and
Oh yeah, the Google link shortener seems to have broken.
Broken, yeah.
Yeah, I can't open it up either. I don't know what you did to it, but you broke it, E.
I didn't break it. Hold on a
You
second.
broke it.
Let me
You're the
find
one
the
that
actual.
sent me this broken link.
Let me find the actual initial article. But yeah, Microsoft had a stellar Q2.
Way to break stuff, man.
I know, right?
And
trying to do a show here, and he's just like breaking stuff.
On cloud and all that fun stuff. But Juan, can you kick it off while I look for this link?
Well, actually, no, because unfortunately, I didn't really read through the story. I was gonna just kind of fake it, but
I see how it is. This is how we're doing it this morning. We're just winging it this morning.
I have a toddler. So I mean, TheoTrade has one of Microsoft rallies on great Q2 earnings. No more volatility, up days versus down days. Microsoft has been in a much more consistent holding pattern, and we've been seeing solid product growth on exactly everything that Nadella has been positioned on. So Azure, Dynamics 365, Office 365, LinkedIn saw some significant growth. Xbox software and services saw significant growth. Server products and cloud services saw significant growth. I think if you're going down the list of Microsoft products, you have to hit like 7 or 8 before you really start seeing specific hardware labels like Surface. So their play on building the back of Microsoft for the 21st century on server side is paying off tremendously. And again, it's like now we're in that 4-way race who might be the first $1 trillion company valuation. And Microsoft is still
there. Yeah, Apple will be number 1 because right now Microsoft's sitting.
I don't know.
Microsoft's sitting at number 4. Apple's at 930 billion.
But Apple's been there before. Apple keeps dancing around it, and then Apple keeps shooting themselves in the foot. Whereas Microsoft is the dark horse, keeps constantly plodding along. You know, they're the little engine that could. You know, it's they never seem to be the most exciting bet in any kind of valuation or stock race, but they still continue to demonstrate significant growth and find new product sectors, which Apple hasn't been doing a very good job of finding new product. So that again, it's just interesting to see that a company that built their rep on, you know, software for IBM clone PCs is now just absolutely crushing the software and services market.
True. Any thoughts, Sam?
It's still, I think the jury's still out. These are good quality earnings, but I think the jury is definitely still out. There isn't any clear, description of what's driving that 17% cloud business. Is it coming from the corporate side? Is it coming from the consumer side? Is it coming from Xbox? They just kind of put everything into a bucket. 17% sales gains in cloud business. That's fine and all, but what's driving it? If it's corporate America that's driving it, then that is more of a, I would say, short term rather than long term, because basically a lot of these companies are going to move things over to the cloud, and once that's done, that's it. You're not going to see that grow at like a 17% year over year, like for the next few quarters. So I would say the jury's still out on this one. It's I would say it's an amazing increase for year over year, but I don't know how long they can sustain something at a double digits gain for like the next few years. I don't know how they can do that over the next few years.
Well, I think it's possible, especially what Amazon showed us with Prime Day. I mean, they're number 1 in that field, and they couldn't handle their own day. So that was like good advertisement for Microsoft. Let's just call it what it is. I mean, whether you look at it as being just a matter of volume or the fact that Amazon, who is the leader in server in this field, couldn't handle something that they set up.
Well, Amazon had a few different issues going on that particular day, but I don't think anything kind of justifies the server issue they had. But they did have a capacity issue when it came to their employees going on strike in a lot of other international locations. So there were a lot of things that Amazon was dealing with on that.
Oh, no, on the employee side, yeah, but it doesn't matter. What people saw on Prime Day was I couldn't buy anything. It just that was just it. I mean,
no, it only went down for what?
No.
An hour or two.
I'll give you my.
It
affected. It was big news. It wasn't just it went down. It was big news because literally, I mean, people were talking about how like you couldn't find anything on Amazon just because you couldn't actually access anything. I'm not saying that it was as big as it is, but I'm just saying that the impression was, oh wow, number one. Oh yeah, they killed it in the first. They said they killed it in the first 6 hours.
Yeah, they made more in the first 6 hours than they did the last year.
Oh, I'm not talking about what they sold. I'm talking about their server capacity. That's like two different things. What they sold is one thing.
Very different scenarios. So that's exactly why I'm saying there's no real description behind what's driving this web services for Microsoft. This 17% gain, because Amazon is basically seeing millions and millions of people hit its servers on one particular day. So yes, the server going down is bad, but the volume of people hitting those servers is still significant.
Oh yeah.
So you can't really compare it to Microsoft.
No, I'm not comparing
like a whole quarter's worth of increase in sales.
No, I'm not comparing to Microsoft, because what I'm saying is this: that the reason why Microsoft is gaining because Microsoft is eating from Amazon. That's the truth.
Definitely, Amazon's the biggest. So
it's the biggest. But I'm saying that when you have that problem, it's an advertisement for Microsoft. You're saying this might be a platform to check out instead.
I wouldn't necessarily say that they're eating at Microsoft. There's a lot of businesses that are becoming more cloud friendly. So and they're coming at a time where Microsoft is a little bit more of a trusted brand, and specifically when you're coming from a lot of on-premise infrastructure and trying to throw that into the cloud. It's a little bit easier to do with Azure, and when you're a little more familiar with it. Plus, there's a lot of MSPs and other service providers that manage a lot of companies that Microsoft gets in connection with, that makes it a lot easier to flow this stuff through versus Amazon, where you really got to have somebody specialized in Amazon Web Services. Is a little bit more complicated in that matter. Azure has made it a little bit easier, but it's been mostly they're sort of getting. They're probably, if we looked at new growth, that's probably what Microsoft is leading in terms of the cloud versus people switching from AWS over to Azure. But then there's also a lot of cases where a lot of companies use both for different reasons and different things depending upon what they're doing. So I wouldn't like Microsoft's gain isn't necessarily Amazon's loss. They could actually both be gaining in different ways from it, depending upon what the company or what business is doing in terms of their infrastructure choices. I think what we are seeing is mostly the gain is coming from Azure. That's where they're getting their boost and stuff from, essentially forcing Office to be a subscription-based service to a lot of people. There's another thing that's boosting their profits up as well too. I mean, Xbox One is Xbox. Obviously, they're getting boosted there, but then again, you really can't do anything on your Xbox unless you have Xbox Live. So there you go. You kind of have to have that service. So that's another big boost and gain for them. And it's probably at a period where a lot of people probably have re-upped in recent years as well to pair along with their Xboxes. So I think they're seeing growth in those specific periods, and probably some growth in the Surface line as well too, because that's still a pretty good sellable line. A lot of businesses have come on board with it. They probably boosted a lot when they finally released the LTE model of that, which probably got a lot of corporate customers interested in it because now you can use it without having to be on Wi-Fi networks, which can be a security issue. So now you can just go on 3G and 4G, which are managed, and little managed networks are a bit more secure, which makes the device more secure. It doesn't have to just connect to random Wi-Fi that they're unsure of. So I think those combination of things are the reasons why we're seeing this growth. However, I kind of agree with Sam where I don't see them doing this year over year. I think they've got a boost, and now they've got to figure out what they got to continue to boost in. And there's only so much they're going to be able to grow in one space before they have to figure out their other extremely lacking spaces aren't getting anywhere. I mean, I'm pretty sure it looks really good right now when you have the entire thing of Windows Phone completely off the books, and it's not showing up anymore. So those numbers look a lot better than when they did before, where they were just losing year over year on phones.
No, I do agree on that aspect too.
That's one of the things. I mean, we're saying like, what is Microsoft going to be doing to demonstrate growth, or how they're going to keep building on this, or are we really going to keep expecting to see double-digit growth? It's not that. It's we've got an entire product portfolio where you've got to go down 15 categories, 12 categories before you start getting into single digit growth in any one specific service. And that is still demonstrating growth. So when we start getting into enterprise services, Office Cloud, consumer services, Windows OEM, even the consumer side of this business, I mean, we don't even really need to speculate. A lot of this is the corporate side, the corporate infrastructure side, and they're finding new customers in areas that Microsoft has been absent in. But you know, they're still demonstrating service even on the consumer side too. So that isn't necessarily like, well, next quarter will we also see 17% growth? It's, does Microsoft have a product portfolio and a catalog that can also help them weather some of the downturns that we're going to be seeing in off seasons? And that's where we're actually seeing something positive from Microsoft for a change. I mean, we can sit here and hedge our bets, but Microsoft's long-term outlook, and especially if we look at their long-term forecasts from the last couple of years, this has been a much more consistent, much less volatile Microsoft than we've had in years past, especially under Ballmer.
Well, Ballmer was also in the middle of a transition period of going from this traditional computing company to this mobile-centric company. So he had to kind of be in the middle of that transition, and Adela got the lucky part of that of just being at the end of when all that kind of finally settled, and he can just take what's there and go and
trim a lot of fat from like Windows Phone. And Nokia.
So, you know, I don't necessarily call him the guy that moved that. He was the guy that was able to take advantage of what was happening, or take advantage of what was already moving in place. And he was at the right place and right time just to kind of.
Well, the thing I'll give him credit for is cutting out services that were underperforming. I mean, that's pretty bold. You're absolutely right that he got to weather the transition that Ballmer sort of left him with, but Ballmer left him with the Nokia deal. Ballmer left him with an albatross, and I think Nadella made the right play. I mean, the less exciting play for gadget enthusiasts, but the right play for Microsoft's corporate health was, you know, sort of extricating themselves from that bad play. And I think that's actually pretty bold, because think about the number of jobs involved. Think about the corporate reputations involved. Thinking about the Nokia teams involved. The ire that they got on the world stage for sort of bungling one of the most beloved cell phone brands of all time. And he was able to separate himself by that and double down on a server infrastructure cloud business that is now paying off some pretty big dividends.
I'm pretty positive with this, we'll never see them in mobile again in any sort of capacity.
Well, this is how they get around it. They're making the end run. I don't think they give a shit about making the actual glowing rectangle what you hold in your hand, but they're going to be the backbone behind a ton of the services that you use. So they're in mobile. They're in mobile big. They just don't care to have their label in your face when you actually pick up a phone.
And I still think it's a little unsustainable for them to be outside of the mobile hardware.
Oh, it completely is.
And for them to basically say we're just going to support the infrastructure and the backbone
at
some point in time.
Yeah, but that's why devices like the Andromeda lines are coming out. It's not the most like I hear what both of you are saying. I think Microsoft is going, let's just skip this specific rectangle. We're moving to the next one.
Well, because I mean
and we'll just support this one in the back end, because that's what we can do now.
There are so many others. I mean, I know I'm an outlier, but for my family and friends, if they want to see photos of Lex, I don't keep them on Facebook. That's a private OneDrive link. You know, there's so much crossover now with things like Microsoft Office. So Microsoft is making a big push to be on everyone's phones. They just don't care that they made the phone. And that's what a server side and a services side business looks like. It doesn't matter what hardware platform you on. You can't escape Skype. It will be everywhere. It doesn't matter that you hate some of their services. You will have to interact with them. And you don't have the excuse that, oh, I have an iPhone, so I can't use Microsoft Word. No, we're there too. And so that's kind of, I think, again, this is almost sort of like a Bill Gates play. It's like a domination through services instead of a domination through operating system.
I can see that play, but I think they're wading into a venue that is pretty much, I wouldn't say dominated, but also has a lot of brand recognition for people like Google Docs. Because Google Docs is also something that's used by a lot of startups right now when it comes to sharing documents, the integration with email and the whole Google Docs suite.
Well, I mean, the thing is, we don't want a winner. We as enthusiasts, we don't want one
we as consumers, definitely competition means that we get better pricing, better products. It works better for us. But at the end of the day, it goes back to the question: is how sustainable is this growth from Microsoft?
And I mean, okay, but to be fair though, I mean, Sam, you made a statement with Google Docs. What's Google? Google is the same position as Microsoft. Their hardware line does not make their money. Let's just call it what it is. None of those Pixel phones.
Okay.
No. So just set that aside. I'm just saying but they're the same. They're in the same boat. Google's main money maker is what? Advertising. Still, they're still trying to make money.
Yeah, but hardware is the reason why they made money.
Thank you.
What?
I mean, hardware is the reason why they made money.
It puts their name in front of people.
It puts their name. No, it's not. It's not the reason why they make money. They've always made money through advertising. They are trying to diversify now. And if you look at Google's balance sheet, the only thing that's still making them money hand over fist every year is advertising. I do agree. I'm saying that they're in the same position. It's just that we're looking at the companies from different angles because Microsoft.
I don't think they're in the same position. I think they're in a better position. Specifically, if
they're not. Looking at the market cap, looking at the balance sheet, they're literally almost the same. The market cap's only.
Not in the same position.
Looking at numbers,
I'm just saying, if you're looking at the numbers, it's what it is.
Numbers say one thing, but product lines and positioning say another. And this is a company that's sitting there trying to, not only basically take over the world at this point from any type of digital and online footprint, but you got a company that's putting out something that I was reading more on some stuff with Google Fuchsia because I thought they were just releasing it as another Android version. But it looks like they're trying to release that on everything. And if that becomes something that is released on everything, that is a viable tool, that's a huge competitor to Microsoft and Windows 10, specifically on a lot of other smaller and minor.
But isn't that the same thing? We've heard the same rumors of Andromeda. Again, it's the same thing both of them are doing. I'm not saying that one is better or not. I'm just saying that they're in the same boat.
Well, I would put it down this way, right? When I walk out of my office to get my calendar, to basically do a lot of things that helps me go through my day, I step away from Outlook and I start using Google Email, Google Calendar, Google Docs, Google Drive to get a lot of things and interact with my classes. When people are saving down documents, I step away from Microsoft's world. Why? Because I have a hardware that basically supports a lot of things that Android does and enables me to do all these things. What does Microsoft have to say for itself? Surface? Nah, Surface is in my bag. I'm not digging in my bag when I'm in the train station to go into my emails. I'm using my cell phone. Microsoft has to understand the easier square to get to is the square that wins. And if you're not on those squares, you've lost.
Yeah, but when we're talking about individual apps, as opposed to what's actually...
I'm different from you. I don't use OneDrive. I mean, I don't use, but I use OneDrive.
But the way that Google,
you're talking about your preference and my preference are two different things.
Yeah, very true. Very true.
Yeah. So
because I use Outlook on my own PC. I use Gmail for personal communications and Outlook for business communications because that's just the way I've always been wired. On my phone, this is one of the reasons why Google is paying billions to the EU because of the way that they bundle their services and they've as Microsoft did in the 80s.
Microsoft did. It's you can call it BS, but they have to pay the price that
Microsoft did.
EU set the standards.
Microsoft did it worse. They did it worse than what Google's done it with.
We can get to that, but the point I'm trying to make, Sam, is Microsoft has solutions there too, and we can see that some of their solutions are some of the fastest growing solutions on Android when it comes to things like cloud storage for consumers, when it comes to things like document support, because you can't fully get away from Microsoft Office. If you do any work where you have to interact with any kind of corporate institution, you can't get away from Microsoft Office. And that actually,
if you're on a Mac,
because when I pay $100 a year for Office, I get 5 licenses of Office and 5 terabytes of cloud storage for each of those licenses, and it's pretty great. It's a way better deal than paying for extra iCloud or paying for extra Google Cloud storage. So again, they've positioned themselves really well to be just kind of there too. You can go and buy a Galaxy Note, which has nothing but Microsoft stuff added into it if you buy a Note from the Microsoft store. That's super ham-fisted. But there are individual services, there are individual platforms, and there are individual ways that Microsoft has done really well getting their stuff on iOS and getting their stuff on Android. So again, just kind of like it kind of doesn't matter what glowing rectangle you use it from. Microsoft is still kind of there. These recent Skype changes are also going to be a big deal for that, because they're finally getting on board the 20th century of VoIP and video calling and being able to call record and not have extra plugins. And, you know, we might even want to consider doing some offline podcasts that now that we can just do a cloud save directly from something like Skype. That might be a better fit for what we're trying to accomplish, since none of us can get a lower third working on Hangouts anymore. So
that is very true, man.
so that's what's interesting. Again, Sam, I don't think anyone should ever expect a company to be able to demonstrate they can always maintain double-digit growth. That I would call that cancer, because that's unsustainable. But what do we see? I see a Microsoft that is far better positioned to weather a downturn over the next 2 fiscal quarters as the market fluctuates. I see a Microsoft that is going to be much more consistent in how their earnings go and how their product strategies go. And hopefully that means a Microsoft that can take a few extra risks in other departments. Because, you know, I think Surface, people might feel Surface has gotten kind of stale when the big new product is a Surface laptop over the last 2 years, or a Surface desktop like an iMac. That's not particularly exciting. But if we want a Project Andromeda, we don't want a Microsoft that's all over the place. We don't want a Microsoft that's flaking out on taking risks. We want a Microsoft that can put together a cohesive strategy with their brand in their ecosystem to deliver something that we want to use. Microsoft delivering a Windows Phone now is the worst thing they could possibly do, because they don't have that infrastructure. Microsoft delivering Andromeda in 2020 could be really exciting.
I agree with a lot of things you said.
Again.
I agree with a lot of things you said, but for me, I see a Microsoft that is risk averse because it's now focused more on the corporate side and has basically left its consumer side to basically be driven by subscription services for things that we used to be able to pay for and not have to pay over and over.
Yeah, but that's the market. We can thank Adobe for walking us in there first.
That's going to compete against things like Google that has a lot of free offerings that, while it can't meet the standard of Microsoft, can get you along well enough. I see a risk in Microsoft. I see this huge gain as a symptom of a possible downturn for Microsoft.
See,
we're seeing the same thing.
I completely disagree with you, Sam, because I hear what you're saying, and is the reason why I paid for OneDrive over Google Drive for what we use is because I went, do I want almost there, or do I just want to pay the little extra and go, I have what is solid? And that's what people will have to do. That's a personal choice. That's a personal choice.
For Google Drive, it's not. I didn't even have to make the choice to use Google Drive. I had no choice but to use Google Drive because these startups, these what's called General Assembly and all the other places I take classes at every now and then.
They all use Google Docs,
Google Drive,
because they all use Google Apps. They use G Suite because G Suite is far cheaper, and it isn't an almost there
come
thing.
on, though.
It is a
Fair
thing.
It is not a bad thing.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I know full hedge funds that run off of it, man. It is a
no. I know people who run off of it. I'm just saying I ran off some stuff for a couple of clients, and we had to literally pull stuff out so we could use Excel properly.
But let's actually
you can knock it for Excel.
No. It is. That's why I said you missed my point again. It's your choice. You make a choice.
Wow, this
but
was supposed to be.
But to sit there and say that it's
the thing is that Microsoft is there. It's there for a choice, and the fact that
almost there is kind of the wrong statement.
He's the one who stated, but also you missed the point here is that they're doing well on the service they are making you pay for. They're actually doing well on that. Yeah. So they're doing something right.
Because you have no choice and no other way to get Office on a PC.
Yeah.
Because they block every which way.
No, Office. You said there's an option. There's an option called Google.
Ain't no option if you want Office software. If you want to go get
Google Drive being an no. Wait, Warren.
Of that, man.
Warren, you've already missed the point. I'm saying there are options. There's Google Drive. Google Office, Google Docs. You can get Google Docs if you want to, if you don't want to pay for Office. There's a competitor, but they're doing well for a paid service, meaning they're supplying something that people want.
Well,
and that's something
don't forget that you still can do a lot with Office from a consuming standpoint without having to pay for it now. Like, as soon as it went to the iPad, that was a free app you could download.
So again, you guys are missing some point that it's actually doing well.
There are some limitations.
Yeah, they're doing it well because they're forcing certain ways of making it do well.
Nobody
that's what a business does.
What do you mean? Nobody forced me to get it.
They're succeeding because they're doing things that the market seems to like and makes them succeed. Evil.
Don't get me wrong. Like,
no, we're not.
Derek 11 just said Office is king. Don't get me wrong. Office is king. There's no question to that. We're just saying, how long can the king keep on being king before the princes come up and stab him in the back?
That's also
the princes were stabbing the king in the back. They were, and the king had to basically go, we're going to reformat and give you a free version, and then there's a paid version. That's what comes to mind.
The one comes to mind. Succession, the new HBO show.
Yeah.
Son tries to basically have like a boardroom coup and kick the father out for incompetence, and the dad just like demolishes him, fires him and every single person that supported him. Like, this is Microsoft. We're going to demolish you and fire every single product that competes with Office.
Right.
End of story.
Take that, Nokia.
Yeah, but look at the other aspect too, right? What's the Microsoft Teams, right? Teams and Slack. That also is an avenue they're growing in. Even though Slack is king there, they could have bought Slack. Slack said no, and Microsoft did what Facebook does. Like, fine, we'll just build something out to compete with you.
Yeah,
and now they're driving
do not realistically, the Slack. I'm actually very, very interested in how the Slack competitor turns out. Like, if they can actually compete against Slack, that would be a coup. Yeah, they have like 100%. They have to first market it and push it, and then they have to get people that have been using Skype to actually want to use that, because trust me, in the corporate world, Skype sucks. They have to get developers to use Skype, because in Slack, what can you do? You can post code, you can look at the code, you can edit code.
So much integration. Integrates tightly with.
Oh no, I'm not disagreeing. I'm not disagreeing. But you know what they want to do though? I mean, for them is they want to drive the price for Slack down and then just buy it. And then
they can't drive it down. It's not expensive. Yeah. It literally is, and it's based on usage. And if you're not using it at a certain period of time, it doesn't charge you for it.
Yeah. No, not that price. I'm talking about buying the company. The valuation of the company.
It's not gonna. It's not gonna.
You see what they've done? Didn't they buy GitHub?
Yeah, they just bought GitHub too.
Yeah, so Slack and GitHub are very good friends. So yes, they're using that as a venue to pressure into. But yes, we see what they're doing. But competing against Slack is going to be tough.
Yeah,
no, I mean they want to own Slack, and I think eventually we will at some point. But it's a matter of
I don't know, because Slack's in a really, really good position amongst itself, and there's so many people that are using it now.
What is Slack's valuation?
All cross platforms too.
Ronald Collins says the U.S. government tried to use Google Docs, and they had to basically go back to using Office. I'll put it this way:
you're telling me
who was integrating Google Docs?
You're telling the U.S. government who uses the cheapest amount of any type of technology or anything at all, and they got probably the weakest IT team possible, because it's the federal government.
Okay. Let's move on to the next topic. I don't want to talk about the government here. Let's move on. The government is great, and the Core i9.
No, they're not.
Core i9 MacBook.
The government sucks. Why?
Come on, man. We're about to talk about Apple.
Yeah,
thinking about that too. Get happy with Apple.
Yeah, so the MacBook Pro Core i9 version is having some hidden issues. There've been a lot of YouTubers who've made videos and going like this. You could just see the thumbnails. Literally, that would tell you enough of what Apple has delivered. Now, some people are saying that because of the size, how thin it is, thermal cooling is not as efficient, so there's a lot of throttling on the MacBook as well. So anyway, guys, what do you guys think of this? And another mini Apple fiasco, if you will.
Just getting into the story right now, because I didn't realize this was going on. But what I want to know is, was this before or after all the YouTubers gave it a positive review?
No. This is the review.
They reviewed the product and then actually point out a flaw.
This is part of a growing trend in Apple commentary. When Linus and Snazzy both had what's his name, Snazzy Q.
Yeah,
I can't remember his name. Damn it.
This is Snazzy Q.
but yeah, when they started doing their, we had problems with the iMac videos, or Apple gave us poor customer support videos. This launched a new trendy, it's kind of like liberals who are now woke but now libertarian kind of conversation. Like, I'm an Apple fan, but now I'm woke to all the problems of Apple products, and I'm going to criticize Apple now. And channels that were super, super pro Apple talking about like, oh, I just got a copyright strike on this video from like 5 years ago where I talk about Apple. And so this is a new flavor of Apple fandom commentary, anti-commentary, but almost all of the Core i9 laptop videos came out with, oh, I want Apple to do better. Just be better. This isn't a product that I think Apple should be, putting out there. If pros really want to do these kinds of things, they need to know, and the concern, and oh no, what's going to happen, and the gnashing of teeth. But I haven't seen many positive reactions to the new MacBook.
I think what you're confusing, the only positive reactions when people were ordering it, like, oh, new MacBook Pros are out.
Right.
Yeah, and
not reviews though. Anyone who's been putting out review, I've seen almost universally critical or concerned. A lot of concern.
There was a lot of hype to buy it, and then as soon as people either did like reviews or like first looks or like, I just got the MacBook Pro and maybe you shouldn't buy it type videos, it's all been just facepalm. Like literally facepalm in just terms of like
I just don't buy, because I don't buy that everyone reviewed it. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like
it's not a matter of review or not. Is like, if you watch any of the videos, it is either I think the only one person who had it early was Dave 2D. Dave 2D did a review. Most other people were like, I use it and this is what I saw immediately. And some people was like, this is my experience. Like don't even try this, because as soon as you use it, you will know. And then their videos are like, if you love Adobe, go buy a PC. Like, if you're using Adobe to edit, don't buy a MacBook Pro. So it's those kind of videos where immediately people are either testing the things that they use right away, and they're going, that kind of thing. So,
and this actually has been a pretty consistent issue that we've been seeing across this product line. So,
well, other people have figured out ways of getting around the heating issues of the i9. You would think a company like Apple would be able to.
Where else is the i9 being used in mobile? Though?
MSI.
Dell, MSI. Everybody has
done this.
Right. So that's the point I'm getting at, is neither of those companies makes an ultra slim portable with the i9 though, right?
No. I mean, some of them are slim, but not ultra.
This is Apple doing their branding exercise of, we slapped the i9 label, but you can't really use it because we didn't want to change the form factor, and we didn't really fix the keyboard. We just added some membrane stuff to kind of help keep dust out from under the butterfly mechanisms, and now it's all fixed. It's all good now. It's good.
No.
Trying to say, I thought the new Razer had an i9, but I'm not too sure.
But Razer's, I mean, because I have the older blade. That thing kicks on like a blast furnace.
Oh yeah.
What's he going?
There was no.
Like this.
Well, I'm not saying
on top of your desk like an air hockey table.
I'm not saying it's basically perfect from everyone else, but it's usable from everyone else. And everything we've heard about the MacBook Pro and the i9 seems as though it's pretty much dangerous to run this thing at max it out.
The thing is, I don't think you can. It's not that it's dangerous. Hot. It's just that the machine automatically guts what power you paid for.
People were saying it was hot, as like the videos I was saying were saying these things were like running really, really, really hot. Yeah. So it's not something you want to use on your lap.
No, it's running hot while throttled, by the way. That's the thing. Like, it's throttled too. So it's not like it's
too much thermal place. That could actually be legitimately a thing with it too. They could have effed up the thermal paste on it.
Yeah,
that's probably, and it could probably be why we're at this point, because I haven't heard any of the Core i9s doing this from other laptops that are out there.
Anil, let me know what did Dave TZ say about his Helios 500 with a Core i9? since he just released that. Just put it in the comments. But I'm sure that didn't have a face palm on it if I went to go check out his thumbnail.
Yeah, we're gonna need. I'm gonna need YouTubers to start. We're gonna need to start coming up with more creative thumbnails, and all of us doing the same thumbnail over and over again, like we're some paid campaign.
You know, that's exactly how YouTube works.
And it looks like it looks like a paid campaign.
Warren, it does not matter. Just do it.
If one person does it and he picks up traction, everyone's going to do it. It's the way it works.
It is. But yeah, I mean, you know, it is Apple. It's not going to affect them in any form of
I gotta take off in a few minutes. We want to get to the next thing. We're talking about the EU thing.
I'm sorry. I'm like, I look outside my window, I see a paper bag flying, and then like 2 seconds later, there's someone's like fedora flying with it. I'm like, what are they doing on the roof?
Okay. All right, let's move on to the next topic quickly. New VR standard. Most of the major VR companies, or at least involved, AMD, Microsoft, NVIDIA, Oculus, and Valve have agreed to something called VirtualLink, which is an open standard that will use only one connection down to a single USB Type-C cable for your VR headset. No more of those, how many cables do I need? Like 3, 4 ports? You know, 2 USBs, 1 HDMI, and now you're just down to 1 USB Type-C cable.
Yeah, I mean, mixed reality was a step in the right direction because it's HDMI and USB. But if I could get it down to just a Thunderbolt port, that would be rad.
Yeah. So that's cool. That's
I cannot disagree with that, man.
That's
right now with the 2 sensors, that's 2 USBs. With the headset, that's another 2 USB, and then I have a HDMI there. But I can't use USB 3.0 on everything. I have to use one USB 3.0 and everything else on USB 2.0. It's like, please just give me one connection.
Exactly. Yeah.
Hold on a second. Going back to the last thing. Sorry about this. I have to bring back to this. We didn't talk about this part. I know they had. Let's talk about somebody posting something on Twitter and trying to say from a certain website trying to say that these SSD speeds were apparently revolutionarily fast.
Okay, all right. I'm gonna call it out. Andrew Edwards, my boy.
It wasn't his. It's somebody else in the chat. It wasn't his.
But he was commenting. Did he repost it or comment? Okay.
No. He posted the screenshot from another blog.
But he was basically showcasing the fact that the new MacBook Pro SSD speeds were 3.2 megabit, 3,200 megabits per second, and every other laptop, like every other Core i9 or every other major laptop manufacturer, Dell, HP, Lenovo, Acer, was 500 megabits, which is just a standard SSD. Yeah. And we went through this whole thing, and I was like, look, first of all, what you just showcased was the speed of the Samsung NVMe 970, which does 3.25, exact same speed. And what you post, the other ones were just regular SSDs, which are always like 500 megabits per second.
These weren't even 500 megabits a second. Somehow these file copies, which are the writes, were all under 400 or well below like 400 or 200 and whatnot. It doesn't match the process because the problem is what this doesn't get is that. First of all, SSDs and NVMe's are 2 totally different types of technologies, and clearly the people that posted this don't get that theory. And secondly, you're typically limited by a processor. I literally have maybe 2 generations behind the same NVMe that the new MacBook Pro has, and I nearly got the same speeds. And I'm like, the only difference is that's a Core i9 versus mine's a Core i7 from like 2 years ago, and it's literally the difference in speed.
Well, if you want to get that speed, go ahead and buy the Samsung NVMe Nano SSD 970 Pro. That would give you 3,500 megabits per second for read speeds,
and it's about what, $250. So
$229 for 5.
Less than 250.
Just make sure you have the processor to match it, though. You gotta have. If you're gonna get those speeds, you're really only limited by how fast your CPU can process that stuff. So if you're doing Core i9 or Threadripper or something high end, you'll see those speeds at that point.
Yeah. No, I saw that conversation going. I'm like, no, like, nope, not worth it.
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
yeah. So okay, we've resolved that one. Now moving on to the EU.
We have to get back to that.
EU fining Google $5 billion or
Do it.
4.38 euros. This is, of course, for certain practices in basically forcing people to use specific apps on Android phones. So I'm gonna start it off with you, Sam. What do you think about this ruling by the EU? And we all know that Google is going to pay because the EU doesn't necessarily give you appeals that are actually in your favor. They might cut it down a little bit.
Google is going to fight this. That's clear. But to me, the damning part here is, as an example of some of the things Google did, is as an example of the latter. This is reading from the article in Gadget. As an example of the latter, the EU competition commissioner, Margaret Vestager, noted that Google stopped a large number of manufacturers from building and selling Amazon Fire TVs and other devices based on Fire OS and Android Fork. This might explain why Amazon Fire TVs conspicuously absent in Europe are reportedly now coming soon. So basically, it's not just bundling things. It's just not anti-competitive moves. Yeah, they basically went out to prevent an actual manufactured product from coming out, which I think is pretty bad. So,
yeah, that's pretty bad.
That's terrible.
That's probably part of why they're getting dinged for $5 billion.
and it's coming on the heels of a consistent track of Google improving Android by moving pieces of Android to the apps that you need to be a partner with to have on your product, further discouraging any kind of forks. I mean, Fire is one example of a product line that got hammered by this, but there could have been other products or other things that people wanted to build off of AOSP to make their own kind of solution. Again, a fractured market where you've got something that's kind of Androidy, but not. We didn't need more nooks, but there could have been other products that got sat on by these corporations because of the chilling effect that Google had over all of the services that get built into Android through the individual apps that they wouldn't have access to.
And this is coming on the heels of, actually, let me put it this way. The news flash here should have been Google gets record fine from Europe that beats its former record fine from Europe, because this is coming out on the heels of a 2.8 billion fine for them pushing their shopping results when you search for stuff in Google versus everyone else's. They got fined 2.8 billion, and then they're doing this as well. So you can see why the EU was like, yeah, you guys don't seem to be learning.
I think the whole push services thing, which is something that you remember when they originally put Android out, they weren't doing. They weren't doing that necessarily. They was sort of this Wild West thing, and they kind of took this necessary evil of pushing their services onto things, but to more standardize Android in a way that we started getting more stable, more cohesive builds and more cohesive experiences of Android. But at the same time, it definitely, obviously, it prevents I shouldn't say it doesn't prevent it. It discourages competition in many ways. It does, but it's almost like I don't know what their other option would have been. Because,
well, I think the biggie is not putting in a clause saying we've got an open source initiative for an operating system, but you can't use major components of it unless you promise never to fork off or do any experimentation on an open source platform. I think that's really the one thing that burned them the most, was having that restriction in their partner agreement. Yeah,
I think that and the requiring for the apps to be installed to be able to have store access. Once again, I get it. It kind of forces a certain quality of device when you put that out there, but at the same time, some manufacturers just want to use Android, but they want to use their own pre-installed things or have their own design things, or maybe want to make a deal with the Operas of the world or the Firefoxes instead or they want to use, God forbid, Bing search or Yahoo search or another different search engine outside of the default one that's on there.
I did switch over my phone to Firefox with Bing as the search.
And it was
just that comment.
Yeah.
Did you say you switched over your phone to Firefox?
He would.
Yeah.
He would.
Firefox Focus is great if you care at all about people like watching your behavior online. And then Firefox is
Firefox Focus is pretty good.
Browser is surprisingly nice. So since I log into it on my desktop, I've now logged into it on my phone, and it's the same kind of synergy I get with Google Chrome. So it has actually allowed me to use Google Chrome even less on my desktop because I happen to like Firefox. When I see them making those initiatives for things like the Facebook bucket, that's pretty cool. And I wish Google were doing things more directly like that too.
Yeah. Now, the only time I use Chrome right now is when we're on this show, because Chrome is really the only browser that runs Hangout without hiccups for me.
Oh yeah.
So that's the only reason I use Chrome right now. That's the only reason Chrome is on my desktop. Like you, I use Firefox on my phone, on my desktop, and also I try to use Edge now because I just downloaded the new Edge, the beta, which is kind of fun.
Yeah, like Edge on Android is pretty good too. The only use Edge gets on my desktop is I'm too lazy to hunt for another PDF browser, and Edge works really well for opening PDFs. It's hilarious.
It is great for opening PDFs.
That is true. That is true. Now I know we're getting away from.
Don't all of you have Adobe CC?
It's just so much easier.
Download Adobe. I can be on the phone that you're paying for it. Stop being lazy.
But
on the desktop. No, you just click on it. It just opens up.
It just opens up. It's good.
It just opens up.
It is good.
Especially you build I'm building PCs and everything. I just transfer over from my server. And if I want to click open up a file that's a PDF, it just opens up an Edge. I'm like, oh, okay. Zoom.
Because they forced the default on that.
Yeah, it's good.
But it's a shitty PDF. It's a shitty PDF reader. It really is.
It's not.
It's a PDF reader.
It's a PDF reader. What am I doing with it?
It's a crappier one.
It's not shitty. It actually.
It is. Sucks. Yeah, but anyways, I mean, I don't know. I still use Chrome. I'm fine with it, and most cases for my use cases and whatnot. How I use and how I browse, it's been perfect. It's not perfect, but it's been fine for me, and in that regards. I've been checking out some of the Firefox stuff, and that stuff's it's been pretty cool to kind of check some of that things out as well too. But it's such a, with the browsing space, it's funny. Like if we were going 5 years ago, we could barely get anybody to use Chrome. Now we switched off that everyone's using Chrome, and you can't get anybody to touch anything that has a blue E on it, like at all whatsoever. Like people, like especially users, like they will demand Chrome. I was like, where's my Chrome? Why can't I download Chrome? Where's the Chrome icon? I don't want to touch anything of that Microsoft.
Which is really sad because the Edge browser, it's actually pretty good.
They set themselves up for that. I'm not surprised at.
Well, and I really wish
reaction. I'm not surprised.
To Warren's point there, I really wish they had changed the logo.
Yeah.
They should have. Edge should have just been a different look.
Yeah.
And different feel, and like this is a.
Or just don't call it Edge. Anything with the E. I know why they called it Edge, so that they could keep the Internet Explorer icon, which is the bad move. But especially if you use Windows in any kind of mixed environment, like on a Surface or on any kind of touchscreen, Edge is great. It is so good for touchscreen because it's built for that Windows 8 style of usage.
The reading mode is amazing.
It's so good.
It removes all the images, makes it more of almost like a journal, like you're reading a journal. It's beautiful. It's good. I prefer that.
Yeah, I'm telling you, like I think the one thing that it's not just Chrome itself that everyone got used to. It's just that Firefox had the add-ons before, but Chrome made it so user-friendly to use the add-ons, and it became a thing for it that it's like, I think people don't come out of Chrome primarily because they're afraid of losing whatever add-ons that they've gone so accustomed with that it feels like it's a part of the actual.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Experience. Where I think that's where the others sort of, they're building in things, which is a good thing, but they're in a lot of these things they're building in instead of doing add-ons. But I think there's a bit of that like lack of like, if I move over to your browser, are you going to be able to pull everything over and keep my same experience while improving the experience at the same time? It also doesn't help that a lot of people's personal services tend to be something that's Google related anyway. So you have all this links and synergy and stuff like that. Although I think if Amazon ever put out that slick browser on a desktop, I think they compete. But I think they're the only ones that could compete and take some share away. I don't think anyone else is even in remotely close to even do, even with the improved stuff that's on there. And especially the Edge is a really good browser, probably literally the best browser Microsoft has ever made. And Firefox has done some excellent improvements to their stuff. But they've all now become the Opera of the world, where they're there, they exist, but there's this big giant over here that it's really like
I know what I'm doing. I know I'm being a contrarian, and I know I'm purposely going out to do that, but in doing that and seeing what it looks like from the other side, there are some very significant things that I can recommend to other people's benefits. It's not just me being the tinfoil hat guy who wants to be different than everyone else. When I show someone Firefox on my laptop, the new Quantum engine works really well. It's very streamlined, and it kind of addresses some of the frustrations we've been having with Chrome getting kind of bloated over the last couple of years. So people seem to look at that as kind of a perk. And then it just, because we've been talking about it, getting away from like Google, for example, I am 2 points away from another Amazon gift card on Microsoft Rewards. So I'm going to go do 2 quick Bing searches right now and then go and get
but just to highlight so for me, what is the most usable about the Edge browser and why I actually install the data on my phone is the whole idea is when I'm researching a topic, right? When I'm researching anything, I can go into a web page. Let's say I'm on Verge. Like right now, I just did it again to make sure it works. I go into Verge, right? And then Cortana pops up and says, "Oh, I found other similar articles." Click on that. 4 other articles basically similar to the one I have here. I can now research not only on The Verge, I can research on Technology Record, Yahoo, Fox Business Network, and Redmond. Wow. And I didn't have to go to Google and do a search to get all of that. It's useful, but
I'd like to see more of the competition between the browsers, but I really think unless there's a big player in the game, like Amazon has their Silk browser, which runs on their devices, which is a very, very good browser, and one of the first ones that was extremely fast, and because it processed everything on the server, especially when they released it on the Kindles, and I would love to see something of that style put into a mobile, not just mobile, but maybe on the desktop as well too. With a big name that can kind of compete with Google, to start seeing some more competition between all of them, because I have to be honest, I don't see Mozilla or Microsoft getting enough traction to try and hit at Google and Chrome in a way that'd be significant.
Yeah. Anyway, that's interesting.
But that's also getting us back to the story of the EU. I think one of the reasons why Google has become the juggernaut that they are is because of some anti-competitive business practices, at least as ordained by the EU. And that's one of those things that we have to take into account. When we discover that kind of market manipulation, we should be holding these companies to task. Does this fine warrant the kind of damage that might have been hypothetically done to the market? That's what now lawyers are going to spend the next decade untangling in court. And that's where we'll have to keep watching. Does the EU buckle on some of this? Do they double down on any of this? We've seen them with the GDPR. We're supposedly caring about consumer safety, consumer privacy, fair business practices. Now it's rubber hits the road, putting your money where your mouth is. This is now to see, do we affect change? And when we influence companies like Google to be more fair or more open in how they conduct business, will this be a boon for a Firefox and a Mozilla? Will we see, the argument is Google engaged in unfair business practices, and that halted development on Amazon products and on other software services. If Google loosens the reins on that, then if we don't see an uptick in Mozilla, if we don't see an uptick in Amazon products, then we also have a good faith argument to say that Google makes a significantly better product by a wide enough margin that even making a more fair and level playing field, that Google was still better. That's now the big experiment. Is we saw on Microsoft, as soon as they loosened the reins on how they were bundling services and bundling products, everyone jumped to other web browsers. People were educated and made aware of their alternatives, of their choices. And now it's really difficult to find someone who uses Internet Explorer. Like, that's the joke, is you use Internet Explorer to dig its own grave so that you can go and install another service right on top of it. So that's now the big play. Is Chrome really that good? Or is Chrome just a byproduct of market manipulation?
Okay. Makes sense. This one's for you, Sam. Just got some of those breakdown numbers from Microsoft, going back to that. In terms of revenue for personal computing, it was 10.8 billion, which is increased to 17%, basically up by 1% from the last following business quarter. OEM revenue was 7%. That stayed constant. Windows commercial products and cloud services 23%, up from 19%. Gaming revenue was 39%, up from 38%. Surface revenue was 25%, up from 21%. And search advertising, excluding traffic acquisition costs, increased to 17%, up by 1 from 16%. So it looks like at least Surface actually had a much bigger bump. Like Warren was probably stating with the LTE devices coming out. And
well, I mean, again, we were mocking it, but Surface Laptop did better than anyone expected it to do, being lower cost.
Okay, hey guys, I got to take off though.
All right,
guys, have a good rest of the show. All right.
All right, take it easy.
Take it easy.
Sorry, you were saying, Sam?
I'm saying I still use the Surface. It's a great product. I think it's a product that's portable enough to throw in a bag, and it's useful. But the question is, everything you just mentioned, there are a lot of 1% jumps.
Yeah, but also there's no new product line, which is actually still good. Again,
it's still impressive. There's no way anyone would tell you that these numbers aren't impressive. The question is it sustainable? And I still don't think it's sustainable.
I think it is, because there is no new product line. Like, to me, that's the beauty of what I see in the numbers is there was nothing new. If it's nothing new and you're making money, then that means you have room for growth. If there was a consistent amount of new products and you were getting these numbers, then something is wrong.
In my book, on the office side, they're pushing people to go from a regular buy your office and use wearable however one can to basically a subscription service. They're pushing different kinds of products, even surfaces. They have a surface that came out, a smaller surface, right? They are things that they're doing that they are doing to push the earnings. So we have new products and we have basically new services.
Well, the new service hasn't come into account for this anyway. Like, there's been no new service to the one announced, which isn't launched till August. So that does not affect this number whatsoever. Yeah. There's no new. So that's why I said, to me, it's impressive because, and again, you're talking about the subscription service. That's not new. That's a couple of years.
It's not new.
So again,
they're still pushing this out to a lot of corporate users.
Oh yeah, no. This is personal computing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I also know a lot of small companies this year that finally started going on 365.
Oh no, that's fine. But so the numbers I gave you were for personal compute. So basically,
so a lot of small businesses aren't going to use the huge licenses that the huge buys from.
Oh no, they have small business licenses.
They have home and small business.
They also have licensing for that too. That's actually quite
so. I'm a little curious how that number factors in there.
You'd be surprised. I think that's much higher because they do have. I mean, I was tempted to go to one of their licenses just because I wanted to add some of my cousins into mine, and it would fit. But then when I realized that they don't really hold down that 5 computer lock like that they claim, so I was like, whatever, man. You guys can just use mine.
They do because
I mean, for me, they have.
On mine, I'm constantly reminded.
I'm just gonna close. I'm just gonna keep quiet now because now I've said that for me. They don't actually know. Next week you're like, you've gone past 5 PCs and above. You're
well, that's also another thing too, though, is that in being a little bit more liberal with that, it's, Microsoft would have a pretty clear indication of, I'm not using this on 7 PCs all at the same time.
Yeah.
But every single phone I review, I have to sign into OneDrive.
Mm-hmm.
I've gone way over
Yeah.
like artificial, device limit. But the thing is, it's like I'm not trying to take advantage of that in some way. Like I'm trying to use 10 phones all at the same time.
Yeah.
With that
Let's
stuff.
just hope they don't pull another OneDrive limitation.
Well, there's an article I forgot to share it with. Microsoft wants to win back. This is from The Verge. The consumer it let down. This is from Tom Warren, who has, of course, a lot of insider Microsoft connections, and this also comes from a tweet from Yusuf Mehid, who I guess is an exec at Microsoft, and says it was awesome to share our vision of modern life with partners and employees at hashtag MSReady today. Can't wait to share that more later this year. Which again, to me, that's just indicating that foldable device that we've been rumored to hear about, at least some of that stuff. So, maybe okay. I think the most optimistic outlook is that Nadella wanted to secure his foothold on what he knows best, what he can handle best, which of course was always services and cloud. And now maybe the company now feels that it's ready to position into new long-term avenues. Again, like Juan said, mobile is just not there. Even if they tried now, even if Microsoft dropped in $10 billion out of all this revenue to push mobile, it will not go anywhere. Now it's a matter of
it won't go anywhere for at least 5 years.
5 years, yeah.
How distrustful we are of Microsoft and mobile.
Yeah, we were like, oh, this is pretty nice and cool, but I don't think we're going to use this for a while, But a new device or a new category segment that if you can build that one out, that's more beneficial than actually going on the mobile route, as long as your operating system and your backbone, especially on the server side. The other thing too is on when you were talking about cloud, one of the big segments where they've grown on cloud is actually gaming. Mm-hmm. That's another aspect. Well, that's business, and it's Azure servers have been doing well for cross-platform gaming, which is why that's a big thing. And Microsoft has been poo-pooing that PlayStation doesn't want to do that because it's not the gaming side they care about; it's the fact that it's their servers that are running that.
Yeah, well, and I think that's why we'll see that all kind of come to a head. We'll have Xbox as a service, less Xbox. You need to have this box under your TV to really participate. I think we're going to see that shift there. And also, I think Microsoft is going to have a huge opportunity over the next 2 years as Google figures out what they're going to be doing with their OS strategy, whatever Project Fuchsia style future they have. We're all running into this limit. We're all running into this barrier. And I think consumers have been feeling it for a while without maybe necessarily being able to articulate it. Is you go back 3 years and you're still kind of doing the same things with your phone that you're doing today. So it's time for some sort of disruption, or it's time for some sort of fork, evolutionary fork of changing how we interact with data and services. If Project Andromeda is the first step for Microsoft on that, then you absolutely need to get that software right. You can't have another Windows 8 transition. Okay. Windows 8 wasn't that bad, but you drew the ire of all the nerds and all the fanboys for it's different than how I used to use my PC, and it's too focused on touchscreens, and that's
true.
Bad.
But the benefit Andromeda will have is if you launch it with a device like a foldable, then it's a different segment,
right? But they launched Windows 8 with a Surface. Again, that just served to make the Surface worse, not make Windows 8 better.
Oh no! But remember, also again, we were told the Surface is a tablet and a PC, two segments we're already very familiar with, that we had a mindset for. The foldable device has no mindset for it right now. So you can
also, it's like a foldable device is going to have to disrupt something or do something better than what we already have.
Oh yeah, true. I'm just saying that it's good. The software is not going to be polished until the next 2 years, at least after launch.
Right. But that's exactly what I'm saying is I think there's a foot race happening. Who can get the next generation OS out that can actually fulfill these these different, more flexible usage scenarios, can still satisfy traditional computing solutions, and might have enough of a platform built into it for next generation or augmented reality or virtual reality services. And so that's why we're seeing, you've got Google kind of dancing around a Project Tango and playing with Daydream. You've got Microsoft with mixed reality and HoloLens. Apple still doesn't seem to think they need to do anything but keep making iPhones. So that's going to be the exciting race again. I mean, where we were a couple of years ago, we're still in the same holding pattern. The exciting race is going to be Google v. Microsoft, not Google v. Apple.
Yes, the thing is, it's very interesting because Apple hasn't showcased or even hinted at anything. Now they very well could be working on something.
The closest they've gotten is AR services built into the iPhone on what is it, AR Kit or AR Core? I can't remember who uses it.
Isn't that only on the X?
No. You could do AR Kit on the iPhone 8
Plus,
and I think
it's on every single new iPhone.
But I think it also might have gone to the iPhone 7 Plus too, because of the dual camera setup there. It's not fundamentally different than the iPhone 8. I could be totally wrong there. I haven't picked up an iPhone 7 in a long time, so someone correct me if
I know it's the 8 Plus and the X, and the dual camera plays a lot with that, so that could be the case. But the one thing I'll give them that with that is the integration there works really well. I mean, the games I tried with it and just the demos on the X was much better than, until Google introduced AR Core. into Android. You had to have a Tango device. So at least Apple did something there. But again, in terms of the overall software, we don't know what Apple is doing or where they are.
Yeah,
they're not doing anything.
We've seen no consumer-facing starting point for what a next generation Apple product might resemble.
Yeah,
we see Google trying to merge elements of Android into Chrome OS. We see them trying to pull some of the desktop computing style of Chrome OS back into Android, making Android more flexible for different types of screen arrangements and screen form factors. We see that they're working towards what a future data integrated services solution might resemble. Microsoft, we've definitely seen them trying to push the boundaries on what you can do with Windows, where you can use Windows, how you can use Windows, and then really getting after initiatives like virtual reality and mixed reality. You've got outliers like Oculus and HTC working on VR solutions, but then also integrating more sensors and location and environment awareness into their products too. All of these companies are pushing forward on this stuff. And yet we still haven't seen anything from Apple that would suggest to me that they can deliver a one operating system strategy, that they can find a way to merge OS X and iOS or Mac OS and iOS into one cohesive strategy. Instead, they've bifurcated for Apple TV OS and Watch OS. And in fact, they're going in the opposite direction for the things that consumers actually have to interact with, as opposed to trying to find solutions that actually make their ecosystem more cohesive.
Yeah, I mean, that is true. One more point. And Neil said the Dave 2D video on the Acer, he said he didn't watch it, but he saw comments where people said that it looks like heating issues were not a problem, or at least were fixed on the Acer laptop. Again, that's a gaming laptop, so it's definitely thicker in size with the Core i9. So,
but again, I don't think any pros would have viewed that as like a disastrous consequence. You go to them and you say, we've got a very special edition of the MacBook Pro, and to fit in hardware that's more powerful than you can currently get in a Mac Pro, this MacBook is going to be 2 millimeters thicker for the newest, most advanced cooling design in a portable device that's ever been achieved by Apple engineers. And I think you would have had pros tripping over themselves to get that box. Instead, they tried to do this, let's satisfy consumers one thing, but we still want to have the Core i9 label because pros or enthusiasts seem to care about that. So we'll just smash the two together without, addressing any of the humongous compromises of that. This is not Apple as a force for good in the tech space. This is Apple bowing to market pressure, being a follower, not a leader, and not really addressing the concerns that their fan base has.
Yeah.
That is very true. Yeah, all right. On that note, guys, I think we have come to the end of the show. I know there's a lot of comments there which you've missed. I know somebody talked about Resurrection OS for Huawei. I didn't know it was called Resurrection OS. That sounds pretty cool.
That sounds hella cool.
Yeah. But yeah, we will keep you updated. Of course, there's going to be new announcements. We know August 2nd, Motorola has something new in terms of devices. We also know that the Galaxy Note 9 is around the corner. a week afterwards, or at least a new, Galaxy device. Quick one. What do you think of this rumor now that Samsung might merge both the Note and the S lines together after the 10? Because they are probably guesstimating. I'm guessing that they're thinking the foldable, whatever that device will be, will take over that space instead of having 3 launches.
It makes sense. If they all release them at the same time, it makes sense. So you basically get your consumer and your prosumer lines together. It's kind of like you have the S Plus, and then the S Note. Good. End of story.
And then you have your Galaxy X or foldable later on in the year.
You have yours complex.
Yeah. What do you think, Juan?
I don't know. I mean, I really don't know. Like Samsung is getting, this is the craziness that we find ourselves in. Samsung is getting hammered by enthusiasts for making the best products they've ever made in the history of the company, but they're not somehow exciting enough for enthusiasts to.
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that the terrible sales numbers.
Right. So again, we're looking at a company that's making some conservative decisions, but again, no one would fault. Like you look at where we were with the S6 to the S9, and we see progress, we see evolution, we see refinement. These are all the things that geeks say they think they care about, but somehow things like the notch it started out as being something you would criticize a phone for, and now it's I can't handle having too much forehead bezel. So you need a notch. You just get over it and learn to love the notch.
It's funny you mentioned that because I had
if that's your argument over the last year, by the way.
Yeah, no, I had a discussion with somebody in New York this week, a YouTuber, and they're like, "No, the notch is not so bad." And I'm like, "Wait, look at the S9 and tell me that's not a good looking device compared to." They're like, "Yeah, it is. So why do you like a notch?"
Oh, it's just so boring now. It's just so boring now. I need something more exciting. Like it's a glowing rectangle slab of glass. You can't.
I think it's people just justifying products that they've bought, products that they would like to have, and seeing that you have notches.
No. I mean that's exactly the point that I'm getting at. Is and for reviewers, it's what's going to get me better SEO. Like a OnePlus video is going to hit harder. Well, then I need to suddenly be on board everything that OnePlus does, and I'll criticize companies that don't do that. Like that becomes the fanboy enthusiast.
You see, but I don't get it. I mean, like I like the OnePlus, I just don't like the notch in front. That's it.
Well, no, but that's just it. Now that we know that the same issue. Did you guys both lose camera on me? What's going on?
Battery.
But no, that's the trick. Is I don't like the notch. Oh, the new Pixel is gonna have a notch. Well, suddenly the notch isn't so bad because I'm not gonna be able to hammer the notch on a Pixel because Pixel fanboys will then call me a hater, and I get better SEO on my Pixel videos. That's the game. That's exactly how this whole thing has been gamed. Not that I think it's a malicious outward intent to besmirch one product at the expense of another. That I think people who make these videos are looking at their numbers going, well, I mean, if I'm going to make a video, I need to get a certain SEO on this. I need to get a certain ROI on this. And, I've seen these general trends, and now I've kind of become a fan of Pixels because Pixels do really well for me. So everything the Pixel does is great. Again, I didn't want to completely derail this all about talking about the notch again, but in the greater context of Samsung, I don't think we're going to see anything particularly exciting about the Note 9, but it's still going to be a refined and improved product over where we were from a company that weathered the Note 7. I'm going to be fine with that. It's not going to be the Note that I fell in love with during the Note 4 era.
Oh, yeah.
So if Samsung manages to do something where you've got S Pen support for a Galaxy S phone, or maybe the Galaxy S Plus, S10 Plus has a silo for a stylus, and it's just the de facto Note moving forward. I don't know. They're probably going to screw up some part of their product line to break something so they can fix it in the second half of the year with a new exciting product that'll get all the nerds flipping out about something like a foldable display that I don't think solves any problems and introduces a whole bunch of compromises that people are going to complain about, but they think it's really cool now because they saw it in a sci-fi show. Neat. But that's what's so hard about predicting the future.
It is fantastic. Hold on a second.
That's what's so hard about predicting the future, though, is I would have thought that this would have been a very successful year for Samsung. By all measures, it still is a very successful year for Samsung in doing something that even their competition doesn't do well in releasing similar products, but refined and improved upon the device they put out the year before. I think that's a better strategy, but it's never really played out that way. If I ever recommend an iPhone to someone, I never recommend the numbered iPhone. I always recommend the S series iPhone, because Apple has had all that time to fix significant issues in the manufacturing, and it's a more powerful product with better internals. But the S series is always the phone that sells worse than the actual form factor change. Again, time and time again, if you were an Apple enthusiast and you get more impressed by the shape of the phone changing than the product being better built, more powerful, and more refined, then I think you're dumb. But that's you spending your money. I can't tell you how to spend your cash. So that's the game. If you want the better Galaxy, you go with the more refined Galaxy. The form factor change is never going to be the more radical form factor change is never going to be the better product, because they've got to figure out more stuff and there's more opportunity for problems.
That is very true. And on that note, guys, with Juan's little statement rant, I won't call it just a rant. It's kind of a statement.
Juan has been super. I don't know if you've been watching any of my videos. It's been very cranky Juan over on the Some Gadget Guy channel for a couple weeks.
Have you had enough sleep, buddy? Are you okay? Coffee in the morning?
I have a toddler and I work in digital content distribution. I never get enough sleep.
All right. Well, guys, we've come to part of the show where you tell us what you have on your channels, what you can expect next week. Mr. Warren Bowman has stuff, as he always says, so definitely go check it out. And Mr. Juan Bagnell, what do you have on your channel? What can we expect?
So I've been teasing this for a while. I'm just happy I finally had a chance to finish it. I did finally wrap up my video on the Creative K3 Plus audio interface. This thing has a crazy bold list of claims behind it, that it's a great box for home recording, for singer-songwriters, for voiceover artists, for podcasters, for Twitch streamers, for karaoke machines, for karaoke nights. It's got auto-tune built into it. It's got sound effects built into it. It's got reverbs built into it, dual XLR connectors, and it even has a 4-pin connector on the back so that you can plug it directly into a phone and power it off of a USB battery if you ever want to take it mobile. This thing it's a crazy bold list of claims. And of course, my review focuses on whether or not all of those claims are actually fulfilled, or if this is just a bunch of gimmicks stapled to a pair of XLR connectors. So for anyone interested in that kind of audio stuff, that's the most recent video on the channel. Again, I want to throw a shout out to my camera manual mode video. And thank you, Anna Bong, for hooking me up with a reshare, with a retweet on talking about that. But that was another really long labor of love video, just putting out sort of a basic philosophy behind photography focused on mobile devices. So trying to get the most out of your smartphone cameras, understanding how your manual mode works, and being able to utilize that, some ideas on how to better utilize that to improve your photos and videos. So that's live on the channel too. And then last week, this last Thursday on Newegg Now, we finally got to take the wraps off of a super secret project that we've been working on with the Hoonigans. I don't know if you follow their channel at all. If you remember a little while back, there was this crazy Mustang video where this Mustang was unbelievable. It's like 900 horsepower Mustang with all-wheel drive was drifting and doing donuts through Southern California with closed off police tracks, like police closing off all these lanes. You can find this video. It's awesome. So we're working at Newegg. We're working with them on doing some really high-end PC build for simulators. So they're making these giant roll cage car simulators to play racing games in. And we've been working with them on the PC build. So we had them on Newegg Now to talk about the progress on that project. We finally got to take the wraps off of it, and that's really flipping cool. Again, I've been a fan of the Hoonigans, just sort of passively, but having them in the studio to chat about the crossover between PC building and custom cars was kind of fun. Because like there's a lot of overlap where I think a lot of us who used to work on cars a lot, like myself, I used to be a wannabe trying to bolt turbos onto Honda Civics and stuff like that. A lot of us drift over into PC building and vice versa. So it was this really fun like community exercise of like, well, you're car people and we're PC people, but we can still be friends. Yeah, we can all be nerds together for our various custom activities. So that's up on the Newegg channel right now. It's the most recent episode of Newegg Now.
Okay, cool. For us, we had 3 videos this week. Daniel put up his Acer Nitro 5. It's a budget gaming laptop with a GTX 1050 Ti. His thoughts on that one. So definitely check it out. I did my review on the TCL 6 series, what I consider probably one of the best budget 4K HDR TVs. It's got Dolby Vision. The nit ratio is pretty good on this. I don't know the exact number, but it's brighter than the OLED. So you can see things, especially in daylight with sunlight coming to the room. It's also got a gaming mode. I apologize. I said it didn't have a gaming mode because though the input lag is 18 milliseconds, I could feel it in certain games. I could actually see it. So it was one of those things where I wasn't too comfortable. But as an overall TV, it's solid. Definitely check out the video because we cover a lot of aspects on the TV as well. And then Daniel put up his European tour. He was in Europe. He went to Milan, Paris, and Frankfurt. It was a tour with Huawei. Huawei invited us over, so he went down, and it's a cinematic tour using the P20 Pro and his GH5, and it's fun to watch because you're going to see. I want to see if you can tell how much the difference is, especially with what he did and how he edited the video. Whether you can tell the difference between the GH5 and the P20 Pro. There's a lot of similar scenes and shots. Trust me, without him putting the exact device, it would be hard for you to tell which was a smartphone or a DSLR. So definitely check that out. Next week, coming up, lots of trailer reactions. It's coming back. It's Comic-Con this weekend. Aquaman trailer is dropping sometime today, so I'll be doing a reaction on that. I believe there's also Shazam trailer as well. And
we're expecting some probably today. Today's a big day.
Yeah, but Marvel's not in there at Comic-Con this year. So there's going to be a Shazam trailer as well. We'll do that coverage. Definitely go check out, even though it's not on our channel, go check out Mr. Glass trailer. That thing was awesome. Oh
man, dude, I've not been this excited for an M. Night Shyamalan. Even though, remember what's called Beat, whatever the last one was? Split. Even though everyone was saying Split was so good, I was still apprehensive. After seeing Mr. Glass or just Glass, I'm like, I want to see this. This is going to be fun.
Yeah. And I think also there's a Star Trek trailer. Now, there were also other trailers that were dropped for Venom. Everyone said that was awesome. And even though they haven't actually released the trailer yet. So it's going to be a lot of comic book trailers this weekend. And then next week, in terms of tech, I've been talking about this video for a minute. It's my three-way battle between the Samsung Gear X, the Jabra Elite Sport, and the Apple AirPods to find out which is the best wireless earbuds to actually use. And you'd be surprised because I'll tell you now, there's no winner. It's just exactly in terms of what categories. Sorry, I'm not going to do a winner for this. Apologize. And there'll be other videos next week, so stay tuned. And I want to thank everyone for joining us in the chat, watching, and also commenting as well. And I want to thank Sam and, of course, Mr. Juan Bagnell and Warren Bowman for, of course, chiming in with your great thoughts, even though mine is better than all of theirs. I'm just joking, guys. But anyway, definitely check out all the channels. Check out Mr. Warren Bowman at bw1.com. You can find him all over the web, bw1.com, on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and IGTV. And then, of course, Mr. Juan Bagnell. You can find him at New York Now, Thursdays, 1 p.m. Eastern. He hosts a show there for an hour or so you can check that out. Check him out, Some Gadget Guy. Also check him out on Some Gadget Guy on IGTV. We're still waiting for that first video. And
keep waiting.
And
hold your breath for that one. It's going to be real exciting when it finally drops.
Yeah, I'm going to have to force. You know what? I'm just going to record one with you next time I see you and be like, you need to upload this shit.
I actually did make a sort of an intro template for on Power Director. For mobile Power Director and it's like, and I've never felt the urge to use it.
Oh, wait. You use mobile Power Director. That's your first video, man.
Is using mobile Power Director to
how to edit on IGTV videos on mobile. Done. I mean, some people need that stuff because I don't use it.
Okay.
There you go.
The problem is that you have to edit in portrait, so it's hard to know.
Do it, man. Do it. Because right. I use my DSLR and I use Adobe Premiere to edit. So do it.
Okay. We'll make that play.
Finally. Okay. All right, guys. Thank you very much. And always enjoy your entertainment.
Bam.